I'm a director of Thomas Guy's Solicitors. Thomas Guy's Solicitors are a top law firm based in the West Midlands with offices in Worcester and Studley. I'm going to talk to you today about preparing a business for sale. And there are quite a few things you need to bear in mind, so I'll just run through the main points. Really, it's all about planning. You need to make sure that you plan in advance to get the most money you possibly can for your business and to make sure the sale goes through as quickly as it can. The first thing you need to think about is to actually make the business more attractive. Now, there are various ways that you can do this, but to put it prosaically, you can look to cut your overheads and do so in such a way that it doesn't impact on your profit. You also need to think about succession. Now, if yours is a kind of business that relies heavily on you and your involvement in it, that mightn't be the most attractive thing in the world for a potential buyer. So what you need to think about doing is getting a management team on board or encouraging your own talent from within the firm so that there's a decent management team there able to take over when you move on. Again, it's just about thinking about getting yourself into the buyer's shoes and what would make the business more attractive for them. The third thing you need to think about is positive publicity. Now, there are stacks of ways that you can get some publicity for very little outlay. And obviously, it's all about increasing your brand and the awareness of your brand in the market. The fourth thing to think about is the method of sale. Now, if you've got a company, you have two choices. You can either sell the shares in the company, or you can sell the business and the assets out of the company. A lot of this will boil down to tax considerations, and so you need to make sure you've got a decent accountant on board. But it's often said that for a seller, a share sale is more attractive than an asset sale, simply because you're avoiding two charges to tax. As I say, if you've got a good accountant on board, they'll be able to give you some advice on that. The fifth thing to think about is timing. Now, in a perfect world, what you would do is sell at exactly the right point where there's a buoyant market and there are more willing buyers out there than there are sellers with decent businesses to pass over. Obviously, it's not always possible to do that, but again, the best thing to do is to make sure that you've got a professional agent on board who can give you an accurate appraisal of the market. The sixth thing is to check the small print, because that's exactly what your buyer will do. So you need to go through your contracts. I mean, first off, do you have contracts in writing? If you've got key clients and you are relying on the value of the contracts you have with them, you need to make sure that you've got something in writing that you can produce to the buyer to demonstrate that there is some goodwill there. And if you do already have written contracts, just make sure that there aren't things like change of control clauses in there and that these things really are watertight. The seventh thing you need to think about is confidentiality. Now, chances are any potential buyer is going to be in a competitive business already. So if you're releasing information about your own business to these guys, you need to make sure that they're not going to run off and use it for their own ends. And lastly, and perhaps most important of all, make sure that you've got a professional team around you of accountants, bankers, solicitors and agents who really know what they're doing, because that can be the difference between making the deal and breaking it, to be frank. Anyway, I hope those points are of some help to you. As I said, my name's Tom Bartley-Smith from Thomas Guy's Solicitors, and if you've got any further questions, please feel free to contact me.